Sylvia King.
And my name is Jenny Stricker. We are positive psychology coaches and laughter yoga teachers. And together we run the Pop-Up Laughter Club.
Welcome back to our Conversations with the Humour Angle on our YouTube channel, where we discuss the science behind humour, laughter and playfulness. And especially when we talk to an HR manager or a team lead about our corporate workshops, we do get a lot of questions. So here we want to make sense of this for our audience, for you at home.
Yes, because it's quite complex, isn't it? In our last conversation, we talked about the basics of culture and especially humor in the way that most of us would understand it. Humor as jokes and comedy. Sylvia, I know you're also studying for a PhD around the topic of culture and coaching, and you shared practical insights why jokes can be very tricky in multicultural teams and some tips on how to work with jokes in a diverse workplace. But you also mentioned that humor is more than just jokes. Can you say a bit more about that?
Yes, Yanni, it's one of those things, isn't it, where science and the rest of the world use the same word, but just mean something slightly different. And as you said, when people hear humor, they usually think about jokes, comedy, or someone having a sense of humor, or being able to laugh about a joke, or just being a funny person. However, when positive psychology or neuroscience talk about humor, it gets much more complicated very quickly. So for example, humor can describe a mood or a state of mind, and that's close to having a sense of humor, but not quite. And I won't bore you here with the nuances, but you can already guess that this has something to do with mindset and how a person looks at the world around them.
Okay, so humor in the scientific sense has something to do with our mindset, which is an aspect we actively work with in our corporate workshop and the Pop-Up Laughter Club. You also mentioned humor as a character strength in our last conversation. What is that and how is it different from a humor mindset?
Okay, so we are now going into positive psychology, Yanni, which is of course our field. So character strengths, they are qualities that all of us have, but they are so natural to us that we often don't even realize that we are using them. And what makes character strengths special is that we can use them to help us thrive, enjoy what we do, and to be and become really good at it. Or they can help us overcome obstacles and adversity. And naturally, scientists created categories and lists of what these strengths are, and one of these little superpowers is called humor. Now, from the perspective of positive psychology, humor is a way of looking at the world around us, at ourselves, and everything that happens. It is about seeing the funny side in things, about being able to laugh about ourselves, especially when things go wrong. And it is about playing with ideas and finding the fun in things we do. So playfulness could be another description for this attitude. But what research has shown is that this perspective on life is a strength we can use because it can help us cope, become more resilient, and it can help improve our well-being. And at the group level, it can bring people together, get creative, create mutual trust. And so this human mindset can be really important in the workplace.
That reminds me of another question we often hear. Is a humor angle or playful mindset just a different kind of positive thinking? And I think, Sylvia, that we both of us cringe when we hear this think positive. This is really not what positive psychology is about. Positive thinking is about ignoring all that is negative and only focus on the positive. But that is actually negative for our well-being. We need to acknowledge the things that are sad or upsetting and deal with them proactively. We can still laugh them in the face in defiance, but we need to give these situations and emotions their place in what is happening. So in a previous conversation, we talked about toxic positivity. So go and have a look, and you can find it here on our channel.
Yes, Yanni, good point. And yes, do check out that video. It's great you bring that up here. And just to put this in practical context, say you have a looming deadline for a project and still so much work to do. Now, a person who just thinks positive, they would be ignoring the amount of work or the deadline, or even the fact that they're freaking out. And I think we can agree that this behavior, this attitude isn't going to help anyone. A person with a playful mindset, on the other hand, they would be using their character strength of humor, and they will be fully aware how stressed they feel and that the workload and the deadline feel crushing. And already Sigmund Freud talked about how humor can be actively used to reduce the feeling of stress in adversity. You may be familiar with the term gallows humor. This is exactly it. But a person with a humor mindset may also be able to call on their teammates. Remember what we said about building social connections. They can go for help or turn the challenge into a kind of game for themselves. Last but not least, they may use laughter exercises to actively regulate their stress levels. But that is maybe something for our next conversation.
Yes, Sylvia. I think we have quite a lot here just with the character strength of humor. So this really shows how humor in the sense of positive psychology goes beyond that quick joke that we actually forget the next minute or so. When we use humor actively as a character strength and an attitude for work and life, it can have these longer-term positive effects on our well-being. So our performance and our positive connection with our colleagues at work. What do we know about this strength and mindset in cultural context, Sylvia?
Again, this can play out differently in cultural context, but let us remind ourselves just quickly what we mean with culture. So it's not just about nationalities, but the values, beliefs, social norms of any group, even in our family, even in our team, our work culture. And every group has their own rules about what is acceptable or how we do things around here. And you can see how culture therefore impacts on our attitude to life, work, how we respond to challenges, and of course, what is funny and what isn't. Now, the good thing about humor from the perspective of mood, personal qualities, and attitude is that it is something we do not impose on a person like a bad joke, but it is something that each person can find within themselves and adapt it in a way that suits them and their culture.
And this is probably one of the key differences between humor in the sense of jokes and the humorous and playful attitude that we work with in our workshops. If our workshops were about telling jokes to our colleagues in a mutual cultural team, you have a choice to either finding it funny, pointless, or even insulting. But in our workshop, we offer every person in a team the tools and possibility to develop their own way of finding play and humor in their life and in their cultural appropriate way of using it at work or at home.
That's a great summary, Yanni. Yes, indeed. So shall we leave the conversation about laughter and how we use it in corporate workshops maybe for another time?
Yes, let's do that. I hope you found this conversation interesting and look forward to seeing you back. If you have questions or comments for us, you can leave them here on our YouTube channel, or you can contact us directly via one of the so many ways shown below and at the end of this video.
Absolutely. And if you want to find out about the Pop-Up Laughter Club, our weekly sessions with the Humour Angle, then check out Eventbrite and Facebook and join us for a free trial. Until then, keep laughing and see you soon. Bye.
Bye.